Fashion is an incredibly powerful tool. It gives generations the ability to express themselves, inspires the masses, and can even change the culture at large. But who holds the reins behind these famous brands? And what else do they use that power for? What are they hiding beneath historic layers of fabric, color, and gems? Most people know that Hugo Boss designed the Nazi uniforms, but he's not the only fashion icon associated with the Third Reich. Today, we uncover the dark side of Coco Chanel. Gabrielle Chanel was born on August 19, 1883, in Saumur, France. Eventually adopting the name Coco, she would go on to found the fashion brand Chanel. She was dropped off at an orphanage that was housed in a convent at age 12, along with her two sisters. Reportedly, her mother had died and her father had disappeared, leaving the girls without parents. During her time in the convent, Chanel learned how to sew and was reportedly inspired by the black and white habits that the nuns wore, which would later become Chanel's signature colors. She opened her first boutique dedicated to hats in 1910, and soon after opened her couture house in 1915. This boutique, located in Paris, would become immensely popular. She initially received funding for her early ventures from Boyd Capel, her romantic partner at the time, but notably paid back every cent. Her life was characterized by independence, both personally and professionally, and she never remained connected to one person for too long. Chanel moved into the perfume industry in 1921 with Chanel No. 5. Famously, Marilyn Monroe once claimed she only wore Chanel No. 5. This was the first perfume made by a dressmaker and set forth new trends to the industry, particularly to the bottle design. In 1932, Chanel expanded into the world of jewelry with her collection Bijoux de Diamants. This collection focused on brooches, pearls, and diamonds. Chanel is credited with beginning society-changing trends, such as early concepts of sportswear for women. Her impact in fashion was wide-ranging, including hats, dresses, perfume, cosmetics, shoes, and jewelry. She was known to have been inspired by and included elements of Slavic culture and masculine fashions into her pieces and overall styles. She created the concepts of the little black dress and two-tone shoe, which to this day remain two fashion staples. Some of her other concepts, like the 2.55 handbag, are still widely sought after to this day. However, Chanel's legacy isn't limited to her fashion empire. During World War II, Chanel had a love affair with a German officer named Baron Hans Gunther von Dinklage. Prior to 2011, only the existence of this affair was known, but since then, new evidence emerged of Chanel actively collaborating with the Nazis during World War II. After the publication of Sleeping with the Enemy, Coco Chanel's Secret War, author Hal Vaughan revealed that Chanel collaborated with the Nazis in France and may have possibly acted as a spy on their behalf. He discovered her agent number, F7124, and her codename, Westminster, in old French police archives. Vaughan was able to confirm this information with other government documents from the United States, England, Italy, and Germany. Chanel's relationship with Dinklage possibly began as a means of helping her nephew, a French soldier named André, who was being held as prisoner of war in Germany. Vaughan posits that she likely exchanged information gained by her connection with powerful people, like the prior Prince of Wales and Winston Churchill, in exchange for her nephew's release. This mission to free her nephew was not the singular cause and purpose of her relationships with Nazi officials and overall pro-Germany stance, however. Other documents in Vaughan's book note she was touring Europe, trying to gather new agents for the Third Reich. Chanel was rumored to have been deeply anti-Semitic as well. Some point to her Catholic upbringing in the convent and orphanage during the same time as the Dreyfus affair. This period focused around the trials of a French army captain, Alfred Dreyfus. Accusations of treason soon turned into anti-Semitism, as the Jewish army captain turned into a political punching bag for anti-Semitic commentary on the disloyalty of French Jews. Vaughan says in his book, Chanel could not have escaped the Catholic Church's propaganda campaign against the Jewish officer Dreyfus, and Chanel's fear and hatred for Jews was noxious and notorious. Chanel attempted to remove Jewish business partners who had aided in the funding of Chanel No. 5 by way of a law implemented in Vichy, France after German occupation. She specifically targeted Pierre Wertheimer, who had helped finance the fragrance initially. Back in 1924, she licensed the perfume business under the Chanel label to the Wertheimers. Back when World War II began, new anti-Semitic laws were put into place that forbid Jewish people from owning companies, which Chanel tried to use to gain financial ownership over the perfume brand. She was ultimately not successful in removing Wertheimer, and closed the doors to her business for the duration of the war, eventually reopening them in 1954. Interestingly, the Wertheimers reinvested when Chanel was relaunched, and the family ended up paying Coco Chanel's bills for the remainder of her life. Supposedly, Chanel's personal relationship with a Nazi officer disgraced her and her brand during and after World War II, still remaining somewhat of an issue after relaunching. Although the full extent of her collaboration with the Nazis wasn't public until 2011, there had been whispers and beliefs that this may be true back when Chanel was still alive. She was even questioned about her Nazi ties by a judge, but nothing was ever publicly declared on the matter during her lifetime. When the confirmed news was released in 2011, the brand refuted the claims that Chanel was a Nazi agent, though they had long acknowledged her relationship with Dinklage, but only when directly asked. Despite the fall from grace post-World War II, Chanel was able to re-establish her brand and begin designing again. Chanel is still considered one of the most popular high fashion brands in the world, and remains highly regarded. The major reason she was able to re-establish herself and relaunch Chanel was because of the Wertheimer family, and their investment in both her business and personal bills, despite her attempts to oust them with anti-Semitic laws. For the most part, Chanel's dark past has not impacted her or the brand's legacy much at all. In pieces that explore the issue of her personal history's lack of impact on the brand, people tend to attribute it to two primary reasons. The first reason being Chanel's moves to cover her involvement as much as possible. The book Sleeping with the Enemy: Coco Chanel's Secret War alleges that Chanel paid off the family of a previous Nazi chief of SS, Walter Schellenberg, to not publish any mention of her work with him in his memoirs. The second reason being the post-war culture of France. The New Yorker's review of Vaughn's book mentions the seemingly incomprehensible ease of Chanel's reintegration into French fashion and society due to the widespread desire for forgetting and moving forward that held sway in Charles de Gaulle's post-war France. When Sleeping with the Enemy: Coco Chanel's Secret War was first published, the Chanel brand initially did not agree with the reporting, arguing that people should look into the 50+ other biographies that did not have this finding in them. Since then, the brand has moved to minimally acknowledging Chanel's Nazi involvement when directly questioned. In a statement to Forbes, a Chanel spokesperson said, "Gabrielle Chanel was a daring pioneer, and the House of Chanel upholds and extends her extraordinary legacy. Her influence on many designers has been significant, and she continues to inspire new generations. However, her actions during World War II are the subject of discussion in many publications and biographies. The actions that some have reported in no way represent the values of Chanel today. Since that time in history, the House of Chanel has moved forward well beyond the past of its founder."